Greetings, my name is Kevin Mill, and this is an exploration of the entire galaxy sector by sector. Today, we're looking at the Corellian Sector in 2nd Green Mantle Command of the Southern Corps. Corellia was right next to the Infinite Empire slave world of Duro, but because Corellia is not especially aligned to the dark side of the Force, the Rakatans couldn't reach them. After their empire fell, the liberated Duros reverse-engineered their hyperdrive, and the nearby Corellians were one of the first species to make contact with them and get hyperdrives of their own. Corellia knew exactly where Coruscant and most of the other colony worlds of Coruscant were located, which greatly accelerated the creation of an intergalactic community, while also leaving tons of empty space in between. In the Proto-Republic era, you could get to Coruscant from Corellia and back again no problem, even if it did take weeks because of how garbage the hyperdrives were back then, but there were untold millions of unexplored planets in between. As a founding member of the Republic, Corellia's story is mostly the Republic's story. They fought the Tianese and Waymancy and the Sith and the CIS. The major exception is the Alsacan conflicts. In the early Republic era, Alsacan and their extended sphere of influence broke away from Coruscant a total of 17 times, including the one time they overthrew the Contispex dynasty that had monopolized the Galactic Senate for generations during the Pius Dea era. Corellia was persistently neutral in these civil wars, taking advantage of their position on the trailing side of the Deep Core to ignore the conflicts of the Arrowhead and the Slice, and blaze trade routes like the Corellian Run and the Corellian Trade Spine. The Slice could be Coruscant and Alsacan's problem. Corellia had all the trailing sectors to worry about. So, the one time Corellian history diverges from Republic history, it's to do literally nothing and win. The Alsacan conflicts had mostly died out by the time of the Old Republic, but there was a resurgence of them smack in the middle of the Old Republic era, soon after the Great Galactic Wars, when an exasperated Corellia attacked both sides and held their leadership at blaster point in the Senate to force them to sign a treaty to finally resolve the conflict. Corellia has a history of fiercely resisting any galactic government that isn't the Republic. In the Great Galactic Wars, the Corellian Council sold out the planet to the Sith Empire, but the Corellian public rallied around the Republic and, with the help of the Republic military, kicked the Sith Empire back out of the core. In the Galactic Civil War, Garm Bel Iblis was one of the big three leaders of the new Republican wing of the Rebel Alliance, alongside Mon Mothma and Bail Organa, later succeeded by his daughter Leia. Corellia protested the reorganization of the Republic into the Empire the day it was declared, and throughout the Imperial era, the whole Corellian sector was a dagger aimed at the back of Green Mantle, to the point where Green Mantle's primary objective for most of the war was to keep an eye on the Corellians. Corellia didn't rebel until after Jakku, but once the New Republic was officially declared on Coruscant, the dominoes fell really fast. Not just Corellia, but Deveron, Duro, Queller, Lorinar, Byblos, tons of major planets all across Green Mantle joined the New Republic, and even Humberine, a pro-Imperial planet, signed a treaty recognizing the New Republic while splitting off into an Inner Systems Imperial remnant, which lasted for like 5 minutes before it collapsed and they joined the New Republic anyway. Green Mantle mostly just surrendered, but the hardliners retreated to Denon to make their last stand. That's in a different sector though, so we'll get to that later. The Corellian sector was originally the Corellian hegemony, one of several interplanetary powers that came together to form the Republic. Most of these powers were colonies of Coruscant created in a millennia-long period of colonization using generation ships that traveled at the speed of light, but no faster. This meant it took centuries or even millennia to reach even the tight cluster of planets around the core that make up the heart of what would eventually be the Republic. The colony ships were entire self-sustaining cities capable of carrying tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, or even millions of people through space indefinitely. Corellia was a relatively late settlement of this era, on the far edge of what Coruscant could reach, even with several thousand years of colonization efforts. Even before Corellia got their hands on hyperdrive, they had a multiplanetary empire due to the good fortune of having a total of 5 habitable worlds in the Corellia system. The Drawl and the Solonians are both furry burrowing sentients native to 2 different planets of the Corellian system. I have to imagine they're related somehow, although I'm not sure how. The Solonians are especially proactive tunnelers. Their homeworld is covered in a tunnel network, and they covered Corellia in one too, where they are known as the Solonian Tunnels. Talus and Tralus are a pair of planets in the Corellia system who orbit around one another even as they orbit the Sun, which is why they're called the Twin Worlds or the Double Worlds. They share a planetary government called the Federation of the Double Worlds, or FedDub for short, and these guys do not get along with the rest of the Corellian system. I'm not totally sure why, but all 3 of the other planets have teamed up to try and bring them into line in the past, and it didn't work. Officially, FedDub is a democratic republic, but word is that the corporations run things. They deal with a ton of terrorists and pirates during the Imperial era, mainly because their government is super dysfunctional, and without the Republic or the Empire to babysit them, things start spinning out almost immediately. But wait, we're not done yet. In addition to the species with homeworlds in the Corellian system, the Koragut are native to the planet of Altawar, not too far away from the Corellian system. No word on their anatomy, but the Corellians found them in the Proto-Republic era and reduced them to a client state, inhibiting their access to technology in order to ensure an ongoing ability to dominate them. Something which has apparently worked for the entire multi-millennia spanning history of the Republic? I'm suspicious. Corellia might have a shady reputation with Altawar, but they can't have kept galactic standard technology from them for thousands of years. Sooner or later the cracks would open up. While Altawar is very close to Corellia, the Frosians' homeworld, planet Froz, is in the outlier systems of the Corellian Sector. The Frosians were also reduced to a client state by the Corellians, which they didn't particularly appreciate. They didn't go SEP in the Clone Wars, presumably because it would have been suicide when Corellia was loyalist, but they supported the rebellion in the Galactic Civil War. When the Empire caught wind of it, they orbitally bombarded the planet. Supposedly, this convinced the Korrigat over in Altawar to keep quiet about their own problems with humanocentric government in the Corellian Sector. Okay, we're almost done. The Nosarians are yet another species native to the Corellian Sector, this time to planet New Plimto on the outskirts of the sector, although reports vary on which outskirt. This map puts them on the border with Duro Sector, but other reports say they're on the border of the Deep Core, which is nowhere near Duro. The Corellians discovered the Nosarians in the early Republic era when they were filling in all the unexplored territory in their sector and reduced them to a client state like the Korrigat and the Frosians. The Nosarians appealed to the Republic multiple times, especially in the High and Late Republic eras when it had become extremely powerful, but Corellia is a powerful planet and New Plimto is not, so their appeals were rejected and environmental regulations were used to basically outlaw the Nosarians' entire economy. Obviously, the Corellians don't say that they want to keep their giant sector because it's full of aliens who they've treated horribly, and who therefore absolutely would not be part of a voting bloc with them in the Senate, but come on, that's definitely the reason why the Corellians didn't release all these colony worlds to get more votes in the Senate, the way they did Loranar and Byblos. Okay, one more. The Govians are allegedly the native species of planet Govia, but this is a species with no distinct anatomy or history who share their name with their alleged home planet, so as usual, I suspect this is a planetary demonym mistaken for a species name. Surely, if the Govians were an alien species, there would be at least one story of the Corellians mugging them. Sakoria is a planet ruled by the Sakorian Triad, a secret council of one human, one Droll, and one Solonian, so it seems like if you're from the Corellia system, you get to have self-determination. It's only extrasolar aliens who get the whip. Sakoria has a moon called Sarcophagus, which is used as a giant graveyard. It's got a population of less than 1 billion, so it's not super important, but that moon is super cool and I wanted to bring it up. Similarly, Themis has a population of only about 10,000, puny. Hundreds of planets like that in most sectors, thousands in the Corellian sector. But it's also a source of a type of kyber crystal called Rubat crystals. They're pretty rare, so Themis never got strip-mined like Jedha, let alone gutted the way Ilum was, but Jedi would go there to seek out a crystal for lightsabers, using the Force to find them, despite how scarce they are. Nubia has a population of about 1 billion, so it's a major world, barely, and is mainly famous for being home to Nubian star drives, who custom-build really nice starships. Tradeco and FarmCorp are also headquartered there, along with Industrial Automaton, who make the R-Series astromechs. Nubia's massive underground aquifers are used to feed massive farms, mostly owned by FarmCorp, which is used to feed most of the rest of the sector, especially Dorsus, a planet with tens of billions of people and a significant percentage of its surface covered in city. It's not an ecumenopolis, but it's getting close. Nubia is also the headquarters of Green Mantle Command. I don't know why Nubia and not Dinon or Humberine, those two aren't in Corellian Sector, but they're in Green Mantle.